We're very excited about our new centre in Toronto. It's the first of a series of global centres we'll be building. We've taken the model that we've developed for our own markets and transposed it into other markets in partnership with the Toronto Stock Exchange.
NYSE Technologies coming to Toronto is very exciting. It's going to bring the world to our doorstep.
As part of our strategy of building a global capital market community, the liquidity centres are about connecting participants to liquidity pools, taking the friction out of global trading, and that's a critical part of our overall strategy. Think of major financial centres like Tokyo, Hong Kong, Singapore, London, Frankfurt, Toronto, Sao Paulo. Wherever there's a major pool of liquidity, we want to build liquidity centres in each of those locations.
NYSE Technologies, with its global reach, is an ideal partner for the Canadian marketplace to work with as we reduce barriers to further participation in the Canadian markets.
The global liquidity centres are serving all classes of participants, the large broker-dealers, the large banks, down to the small broker-dealers and the small asset managers, depending on their need. The smaller players need to access the global centres to enable them to trade efficiently and effectively. We provide that infrastructure that enables that.
A liquidity center is being set up here in Toronto for me as acknowledgement to how the capital markets in Toronto have been growing, developing and becoming a critical component in the overall industry globally.
The services that will be offered through our global liquidity centres will depend on the local market, but there will be a core set of services that will be offered in each of the centres. These services will be network, market access gateways, tick history, market data aggregation, and compute on demand.
These clients are already using NYSE Technologies in other market centers around the world, so it's a great opportunity for participants to trade Canada.
So if I execute a certain way in New York and London, I now should be able to do the same thing in Toronto.
The key critical benefits for any client using the community platform are really the ability to allow them to focus on client revenue generating activities. We can be in the background providing that secure, reliable, robust infrastructure that enables their business, but their real focus is on satisfying client needs, which are the revenue generating activities.
The Toronto Liquidity Centre will make it easier for international firms to access the Canadian market without making the capital and monthly expense outlay involved in establishing dedicated or direct connectivity into the system.
It's going to be an enabler of new liquidity. It's going to be an enabler for liquidity providers not established in Canada to get an easy access to our market.
Traders should consider the fantastic opportunities the Toronto market affords. We have one of the most stable governments and one of the strongest economies, as evidenced by Canada having the lowest debt to GDP of the G7.
In 2012, traders will have a lot of things to think about as it relates to Toronto. Specifically, Toronto's got a lot of interesting assets that could appeal to a lot of investors. The three key industry segments that people think about when they think about Canada: mining, energy, and financials. If you think those things are going to have any run in 2012, then you should be here.
I think what you've just heard from some key market participants in Canada is there's a lot of excitement in Canada about our liquidity centre. They share our enthusiasm for taking the cost out of global trading. We're delighted that Toronto is our first centre, and we're delighted that the participants there and our own community of users see the benefits of using that centre. As we shrink the world through these liquidity centres, the local community will benefit from access to that vast array of participants and markets globally, and the global participants will benefit from access to the Canadian markets.